The person in these chilling surveillance photos may know something about the fire that killed a woman in her apartment this morning.
We had her family screaming at the cops, at the firemen, that she was trapped in there.
50+ people are out of their homes tonight. A family is without their loved one. Aurora police are searching for answers.
I felt terrible. I felt hopeless.
The number of ICU beds being used by COVID patients has tripled since October 1st. Tonight, the state with a grim warning. Mask up, keep your distance, or the hospitals could be overwhelmed for the holidays.
It's a horrible story out of Aurora tonight. One person killed, dozens more left homeless after a fire at the Galena apartments.
We do have smoke from the third floor. It appears that we have several people who have jumped and are laying on the ground.
Most of the people inside were sleeping when the fire broke out, and we spoke to people who jumped to safety from their windows.
And tonight, these pictures show a person of interest in connection with this fire. Now, authorities right now are not calling this arson, yet it will be a lengthy investigation.
And as you can imagine, those victims will face a long, difficult recovery.
Denver7's Liz Gilardi is in Aurora tonight with the latest. Liz?
Well, and right now crews are boarding up windows, but earlier people were jumping from windows trying to get out of the building as it filled up with smoke. One person did not make it out, and tonight police are looking for a person of interest. Hours after escaping a fire,
just try to get as much as we can.
Residents rushed into this Aurora apartment building.
By tomorrow we won't be able to go in.
Grabbing their belongings before it's boarded up.
As soon as we got out, we just started yelling, screaming at people to get out. We were breaking the windows.
This video from a resident shows what it looked like when firefighters arrived.
As soon as the firemen got here, we knew there was a lady trapped in the third floor back there on the other side of the building.
One witness said some people in the building who work in construction grabbed a ladder because they knew someone was still inside.
We had her family screaming at the cops, at the firemen, that she was trapped in there.
The fire department says one person died and several others were taken to the hospital because some of them jumped out of windows.
They did have some victims on the ground that had already jumped, as well as some people needing rescue from the second and third floor.
Late Friday afternoon, investigators released photos showing a person of interest. The owner of the building told Denver7 he handed over surveillance video to police. A cause hasn't been determined and nothing is being ruled out, including arson.
We were on the other side where the fire was really bad. I felt terrible. I felt hopeless. Now, I mean, imagine what her family felt. It's a very, terrible feeling.
And Denver7 spoke with the victim's family. They were not ready to do an interview at this time. Tonight, 60 people are displaced. This building has been deemed unsafe. They will not be able to go home for quite some time. We know tonight the Red Cross is working with them to meet their needs and get them somewhere to stay. Reporting live in Aurora, Liz Gilardi, Denver7.
What a tragedy. Liz, thank you. Warnings don't get much more serious than this. State leaders said today we could set a new record for ICU beds in use by COVID patients within the next 2 weeks.
We could hit ICU capacity in December if people don't take social distancing guidelines seriously in the coming weeks. Another 2,400 cases of the virus reported today in Colorado. It is one of the single biggest day increases we have ever seen, and the reason for the increasingly tight restrictions in the Denver metro.
Douglas County is the latest to put new restrictions in place. DUCCO will shift to safer level 2 next Wednesday, meaning cuts in capacity at some businesses. And here's the alarming news for people in Denver and Adams County. There are enough cases in those counties to justify a full stay-at-home order, according to state data. Those counties remain in safer at home level 3 tonight.
And despite all this, a vocal group of Denver public school parents gathered this afternoon to protest a return to remote learning.
Denver7's Addie Guajardo is joining us tonight with more of their story. Addie?
Well, Ann and Shannon, in just the last hour, the crowd of protesters is growing. Now, the posters that they have, dozens out here, are making their message very clear. They want class back in session. Parents are out here, students are out here. They've been chanting, kids are essential. Now, earlier this week, DPS announced 3rd and 5th graders will shift to online learning, starting on Monday and through Thanksgiving. Now, 6th through 12th graders will remain online through December due to a spike of COVID-19 cases. Now, parents here say DPS pulled the rug from underneath them. They say their kids deserve better and add that online learning is lacking and not up to par with in-person learning. Now, one poster out here reads, "Not everyone can thrive online."
Mental health, their physical health is highly destructive. You know, this is not a kid problem, this is an adult problem. And right now, our kids have become pawns in our, COVID prevention measures, and it's not fair.
Now, parents we spoke with say it's not fair that adults can go out to eat and recreate, but kids can't go to school to learn. Now, we did reach out to DPS, and in short, they say they have to do everything they can to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. Reporting live in downtown Denver, Addie Guajardo, Denver7.
Thank you, Addie. City of Denver is preparing for a potentially rowdy crowd on election night and beyond.
We have seen windows being boarded up on city buildings this week, and Denver is planning to open its emergency operations center on Monday, and the center will stay open as long as needed. City leaders haven't used it since the coronavirus pandemic first hit Colorado back in March. Colorado has cast almost 2.3 million ballots so far, 81% of the total vote count from 4 years ago, and we may pass our 2016 vote total before Election Day next Tuesday.
And it's a similar story nationwide. At least 86 million people have voted already. That is an early voting record. It's also more than 60% of the total votes cast in 2016. In Texas, the total vote count has already passed the 2016 total, with 4 days, of course, remaining until Election Day. Recent polls show the president with a 2-point lead in that reliably red state. Kamala Harris is there campaigning today. Now, both the president and Joe Biden making campaign stops in Wisconsin and Minnesota today, part of the last-minute frenzy in these battleground states. And make sure to stay with Denver7 on election night. We'll be joined by more than a dozen experts from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. Of course, that's Tuesday, and you can find our coverage as well on Denver7 for your Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire, or Android device.
Rocky Mountain National Park will remain closed this weekend due to the intense fire activity that we've seen this year. In fact, this map of the park shows the areas damaged by these troublesome fire and Cameron Peak fire. Officials aren't sure when it will reopen, even in a limited capacity. Firefighters working these troublesome fire in Grand County say recent snow does not appear to be a fire-ending event. Now, the good news is it hasn't grown much in the last week. It could be fully contained in the next couple of weeks. It is 32% contained tonight. And the snow probably ended any chance the East Troublesome Fire would merge with the nearby Cameron Peak Fire. These two are the largest wildfires in our state's history. And within the last hour, evacuation orders were lifted for some people impacted by the Cameron Peak Fire. People living along a stretch of County Road 44H between Moody Hill and Pennock Pass are now under voluntary evacuation orders. And the fire could be fully contained by next Sunday.
And thank you so much to everyone who donated to our Denver7 Gives Fund for the wildfire victims. We have raised more than $210,000. We're still accepting donations tonight. Just visit the Denver7 Gives section of thedenverchannel.com.
The Denver Broncos canceled practice because of a positive coronavirus test today. Coming up, we'll explain what this means for Sunday. Halloween is Saturday, tomorrow. And the usual rules don't apply this year, so we're going to break down what you can and can't do. That's next.